Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship, where we're going to do debt payoff ASMR style. That's the sound of debt being paid off. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do ASMR content, but let's go ahead and pay off debt. All right, we're going to pay off debt today using the same method that we always do, which we used to call velocity banking, and we don't call it that anymore. All right, let's go ahead, pay off debt. So what's the first step to debt payoff? Well, it's creating a budget, because your budget is your debt attack plan, right? You have your income, expenses, leftover checking, savings, and then you create your expense breakdown and you list every single debt that you have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then here you have your expenses that are not tied to debt that you have to pay for every single month. So food, gas, insurance. So the reason why it's in red is because even if you were debt free, you'd still have to pay for these things. And we're just putting a ballpark monthly average figure. And so what we're going to do here with this velocity method is we're going to do something so crazy that your mind will explode. We're not going to save money, right? So you see this checking and savings, this is deliberately going to go to zero. And I've actually shown demonstrations where this was zero here and this was zero here, but conceptually they were different, right? And a lot of people don't understand that there's a difference between being intentionally zero in your checking and savings and not deliberately being intentionally zero in your checking and savings. And one of the reasons why a lot of people can't pay off debt quickly is because of the urge to save money. So think about like Dave Ramsey's first baby step, which is save $1,000. That's going to take 2 months for this person. And what we're going to do is we're not going to save money, and then we're going to dump all our money into something called a line of credit. So if you don't know what a line of credit is, it's basically a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again, right? Line of credit. And someone just emailed me that they got a personal line of credit for $8,000, and I'm like, dang, that's pretty good, right? See, there have been other people who emailed me, and they kind of have like I can't get a line of credit, and I'm like, I don't know how to help you with that, right? Because this is what I tell people about how banking works: is that banks don't lend money to people who need it, right? And so, people ask me like, "Hey, I want to get more credit," and then I just ask them the magic question, "Do you need money today?" And if the answer to that is no, and I say, "Go for it." If you go to a bank, you don't need money. When the bank sees you don't need money, like, "Ooh, that's a very attractive person," right? Banks don't lend money to people who need it. Okay, remember that. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to have a ranking system for debts, right? So this is called the cash flow index. And basically, it's just a formula of the balance of the debt divided by the monthly payment. Okay, balance of the debt divided by the monthly payment. And then what we're going to do here is that we're going to rank the debts from smallest to largest, right? And we're going to pay off the smallest ones first. So why the smallest ones first? Because we get more bang for our buck in terms of cash flow when we pay off the smallest ones first. So this one you'll notice is a 30-year mortgage. Why pay off the 30-year mortgage last? Because I literally have to give someone $235,000 for $1,100 a month, right? So whereas if we pay these 2 credit cards off, which is about $42,000, I'm going to pay less in terms of cash flow. I'm sorry, yeah, in terms of the debt, I'm sorry, and then get more cash flow. So what would you rather do? Pay $42,000 for more than, I think, $1,300 versus $235 for $1,100. I'm certainly going to choose these, right? And so we're also going to assume we have something called a line of credit, right? So line of credit is a financial tool where you can borrow money, pay back, and use it over and over again. So why do we prefer personal or home equity lines of credit for this? Is because even though a credit card is technically a line of credit, if I dump my entire $6,000 paycheck into, let's say, a credit card, can I use that credit card to now pay the balances of the credit card number 2 and 3? No, we can't do that, right? We can't even do it with loans or mortgages unless we're using a service like Plastique. Okay, like the only way you can pay one credit card with another is a balance transfer, and that's a painful process, right? I've done it a couple times, and like I gotta wait a week to make sure the bank sends a check to the other bank, and it's like that makes me a little bit nervous. I don't like relying on mail, okay? Or I don't know if they actually send mail or if they just directly route it to them through the banking system. But all right, so now it says 60,000, right? So 60,000. And we're going to assume we have a line of credit, but here's the unrealistic part. Banks don't lend money to people who need it. So if we need money, right, like we do now, we're not going to get it. And so why do we demonstrate with the free and clear line of credit? Because if you want to see more realistic scenarios, which I'll show you, give me one moment, something like this, where someone has $4.10 left over and 22 debts and a maxed out personal line of credit right here, 18,000, right? And usually that's what happens. People treat their line of credit as just another maxed out credit card rather than as their main operating account. And the fact that this took me 1 hour and 30 minutes to do, like this literally took me 1 hour and 30 minutes to do, and I usually do 20-minute demos. So this was supposed to one of the most complicated scenarios that that kind of strengthened my I guess I'll call it debt payoff muscle, right? But I don't want to be here for 1 hour and 30 minutes. So we're going to assume unrealistic assumptions that make it easy to demonstrate the benefit of having a line of credit here. Okay. Don't want to be here for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay. So now this is what we do. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our credit card. So this is going to be 5, 15, 27. And then I'm going to sum them up, right? So sum this up. And that's 47,000. So what happens when we move that 47,000 into the line of credit? Well, guess what happens, right? The debt gets paid off, or the payments go away, right? So the debt didn't get paid off, it just got transferred, but these payments go away. So now we went from $500 to $2,018.33. In fact, let me kind of say this in an ASMR way. We literally went from $500 to $2,018 and $33 and $33 of cash flow. Is this how ASMR works? I don't even know. I'm just making it up as I go along. Okay, so now final step is that we're going to use our line of credit as our main operating account, meaning that we dump all of our money into the line of credit, take our expenses out, and rinse and repeat over and over again. So 6,000 in, about 4,000 out, and then $2,000 is basically our cash flow. So after every single month, yeah, the balance goes down about 2,000 plus some change with the interest that we are going to accrue for using the line of credit. And then this is what I'm going to do, 218.33. And then what we're going to do is take the average daily balance, right? Multiply it by the interest rate and then divide by 12. And then I'm just going to do a copy and paste. And then you'll see that in 26 months, we have it completely paid off, Okay. And then so I'll just do this 26 months and then so 5 plus 15 plus 27, and it'll be 47K. All right. And then now we have 3 more loans. So let's just, yeah, we can get rid of this pretty quickly. So be, and kind of see from the previous demonstration that I had these already configured, but let's just do 26. And then you can see this is the current balance of the loan. So what I'm going to do is follow the cash flow index. Now take a look at this, right? A lot of times people are saying, hey, why are we focused on this 3% interest rate on the auto loan when there's a 7% student loan? Well, because we only have 12,000 left in the balance. And if we pay off this 12,000, we get $400 of cash flow. Whereas with this balance, if we pay the 33, we get 464 of cash flow. So we gotta get a lot more. We get a lot more bang for a buck for this 12,000 here, and then we could apply it to the 7, right? So remember, interest rate is not just, or sorry, interest is not just about the interest rate. It's also about the time and volume, right? So if I have, let's say, a 20% loan that I pay off in, 1 day, then I'm not going to pay 20%, assuming it's like annually calculate APR, right? So basically, interest rate is annually calculated. And if we're trying to get more cash flow and pay off debt as quickly as possible, then we can we can kind of slightly ignore the interest rate, right? And there's an indirect correlation between the payment and the interest rate because it's also factored by the term. And you'll notice that the longer the term, the lower the payment, but the more the bank makes, right? So I'm going to do this, get the 12 grand, and then move it into the line of credit. So let's go ahead and do that. Control V, and this is going to be plus 12869.8. Okay. And then now that we paid off the auto loan, this goes to 0, and then our cash flow is about $2,400, and I'm just gonna go ahead and do this, and I'm gonna copy and paste. And then now it's gonna be minus 2413.64, and then it should pay off in 31 months because there's a reason why I have the cell highlighted, right? So we see in 34 months it gets paid off. All right. 34, 30, did I say, was it 31 months or 34 months? Oh, 31. Okay. Tres uno. Okay, 31 months. All right, so 47 plus 22, so that's gonna be 69K. Okay, so now you have the student loan and the mortgage, okay? And so what we're gonna do is put a 0 here, and then we have 31, 31. Okay, so how much do we have left to the student loan? About 32,000. Paid about 6,000 in interest. Okay, so now we can move that student loan into a line of credit. General rule of thumb: if the interest rate of the loan is same or higher than the line of credit, it's pretty safe to move. However, we have to be careful, right? If there's an interest rate difference and the term is pretty long, we don't want to move that loan into a line of credit. So that's why I always tell you about the 30-year mortgage. Moving the whole thing into a line of credit is a trap. But because I'm lazy, I'm just going to move this one here. It's relatively safe. And we'll move it into the line of credit. Okay. So now I'm going to do this here. And this is going to be plus 32172.18. And then we get this cash flow back from our student loan, right? So we have an extra $464. Okay. And then I'm going to do this and copy and paste. Oh, someone's messaging me. Okay. Give me 1 second. All right. So now we did this. And then now it's minus 2878.07. I'm going to copy and paste. And then right here in 43 months, right, it's been paid off. Okay, it's been paid off. All right, so now this is going to be 43 months. All right, so 43 months, and then this is going to be 109K. 109K. And then this is a mortgage. So the mortgage is 235,000, and we have to see at 43 months what the balance of that mortgage is right now. And how much interest did we pay for the life of the student loan when we paid it off using the line of credit? So it was probably from here to all the way over here. And how much is that? Let me go ahead and sum this up. What the heck? That ain't right. Actually, let me go ahead and sum it up then. So about $1,339 for using the line of credit. Okay, nice, nice. All right, so now let me go back here, which is right here, 219,000. So I'm going to tell you something, right? Like, I've seen people teach these strategies on the internet, and they always say that loans are bad and lines of credit are good. And that's honestly a big mistake, especially when it comes to a 30-year mortgage. It doesn't matter whether you pay the loan with extra payments or line of credit. You know what really matters? I'm going to tell you what really matters. It's the debt payoff order, right? You have maximum cash flow. Whether you're using a line of credit, that's going to be pretty irrelevant, or direct extra payments. Now, I will tell you that moving an entire loan into a line of credit is a mistake, because think about this. You have this big loan at a low interest rate that sucks up little good bit of cash flow. Now, if you put a big loan from 4% to 8%, you only get itty bitty amount of cash flow to pay it off, to help you pay it off. So that's why you end up paying more, right? That's one way you can think about it. In fact, hold on, where do we go? Give me one moment to open up the calculator, show what I need to show you. All right, so what does this show? Basically, if you move a piece of the loan in little increments to the line of credit, I'll call it a sweep, then you just pay it off over and over again, you're expected to pay about 5.2 years and in 24 grand of interest. Now, a lot of times people kind of go crazy about the interest rate, and if you ever look at how the housing market works, the demand for housing really is affected by the interest rates because the market is mostly affected by the monthly payment rather than the total purchase price. In fact, I would rather have a lower purchase price and a higher interest rate than the other way around given the same monthly payment. Given the same monthly payment, a lower interest rate and a high purchase price is worse than a high interest rate and a lower purchase price. And this is the secret of real estate, is that you pretty much have to always buy it below market value. And if you don't know what market value is, it's just basically when it comes to single family homes, you buy it for substantially less than the house across the street. So if the house across the street sold for 300, you buy for 200, right? That's essentially what you got to do. House across the street sold for 300, you buy for 200. If the house across the street for 200, you got to buy for 100. You know, it's kind of like a general basic rule, right? And so, yeah, so $6,000 is how much we're incrementally paying off for I call it a sweeping amount from the loan into the line of credit. And here's the crazy thing. People on the internet are telling you to do this, right? Because loans are bad, lines of credit are good. And then you see that this doubled. But if I do this, and I'll show you what, if I doubled the interest rate, that's just like 1 or 2 grand more. Okay. And if I do 30%, that's still less than 8%, the entirety of the 8% in the line of credit. Isn't that crazy? ASMR, debt payoff. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So let me go back here and put 8%. So it's going to be 5.2 years. All right. So 5.2 years, and I'm going to do this. And then, all right. So now I just put as the final milestone 0, and then 43 divided by 12 plus 5.2, 8.78 years debt free and mortgage free. And how long did it take us to be mortgage free? 5.2 years. So every time I hear pay off your mortgage in 7 to 10 years, I cringe a little bit because it should be less than 5. And here it's not even less than 5, it's 5.2. So I'm a little bit ashamed. But you ever hear about like the 4-minute mile by Roger Bannister? Like nobody thought that a 4-minute mile was possible until the guy Roger Bannister achieved it. And then once he achieved it, everybody else was doing it. So hopefully this will be the 4-minute mile for you all. When actually I paid off my mortgage in 2 years and 9 months. So hopefully you'll have other people pay it off that quickly. Okay, well, that's it, folks. This is Korean Atlanta Mentorship here with another debt payoff ASMR video. All right, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.